Yes, I'm random, but this is more professional.
Good night, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today we are interviewing 3 members of Jocum. Please introduce yourselves.
Yeah, is my mic working? Okay, I'm Elke. I'm 19 years old, and yeah, I've been doing a DTS for the past few months. I'm so in the translate mood. Okay, well, are you able to edit all of this?
Yes,
Okay. Okay, well, so I have to. Okay, yeah, we've been doing a DTS for the past couple of months, so it means that we've had 3 months of a lecture phase where we learned about the Bible and about our growing in our personal relationship with God. And then after we were sent out, for our team, it was to Brazil and Morocco. So yeah.
Please.
My name is Jenny. I'm from Finland and 21 years old.
My name's Renska. I'm from Australia and I'm 18.
Perfect. I want to talk about something about Jocum. How it works? Like, is there a base in each country, and you from this base after you take the 3 months and after get together to travel, or you travel to a same country there? You all learn the 3 months and then travel. How normally works?
Yeah, so Jocum, it's very international. Most countries have it, and you can choose the base that you go to, so it doesn't have to be, it can be in any country really. And for me, I did my discipleship training school in Hawaii, Kona, and then I came to work with Jocum in Norway, but I'm from Finland, so I was never really connected to Jocum in Finland, but yeah, it was my first touch of Jocum when I went to Hawaii.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities, like in Jocum, so we say YWAM in English, to like some countries maybe have one base, some have several, and you can choose your base, and then if you have a base that does a DTS, for example, so discipleship training school, you do that 3 months there, and then you go for 3 months to other countries, and then you have also a lot of different DTSs. So for example, we had like a special one that was focused on like traveling more, so short term. It's called backpack, so that's why we went to 2 countries. Some may stay like in the same country for 3 months. It's really it's really diverse, and it's also what Jenny said. There's secondary schools, like after you did your DTS, you can do different things.
Cool.
Yeah, and usually you have a group of students at that base in the country you do DTS in, and then that group gets usually split into smaller groups, and then you travel to different countries, so you don't travel as a big collective group to different places.
I understand. Yeah. And you already know each other before traveling?
Yes.
So we knew each other from the 3 months in Norway. So the months where we were together with the whole school class, and we had lectures. Okay. But not like before, like we all came on our own to the base.
Yeah, we met in January.
Good. And what about your travels from you come to Brazil and what more countries?
Morocco as well.
Morocco. Good. And how was your travel to that? How was going to Morocco? How is you going to Brazil? You like the place? How the churches are? Some species? What do you think?
I can say that first of all, Morocco and Brazil are so different.
Complete opposites.
Whole culture is different.
Yeah, like some things are similar between the countries, like the way like people are very hospitable and very welcoming, but like Morocco is a Muslim country and Brazil it's a lot of Christians, so the environment is very different, the culture, everything. But I really loved both of our countries. I really loved being in Brazil.
I think that's the beauty like of our outreach, that we got to such different cultures, so it's such a learning experience. And also for like getting a taste of like missions work and outreaches, that's we saw really different like ministry options, like in Morocco, because like almost no one is Christian, and it's illegal to like preach the gospel openly. We had to like we weren't connected to a church. We had to have our own program, only going on the streets and trying to like build connections. And in Brazil, we have so many different options. Like we're going to so many churches, and we get to preach, and we get to like do practical work.
Yeah.
So it's really like quite
cool.
Yeah, I also think in Morocco, church also looked very different. Like there were only house churches, and our contacts there we couldn't see regularly because otherwise it was too dangerous for them. But also evangelism looked so different because you evangelize to build relationships and then you introduce Jesus. But here what I love is everyone likes to be prayed for, which I've loved. You can just start a conversation by saying, hey, can I pray for you? And 9 out of 10 times people are like, yeah, sure. I love that.
Good. And where are the states of Brazil you traveled for here?
Well.
You remember? Or you come direct to Rio Grande do Sul?
We were in São Paulo and Curitiba. That's not a state, it's a city.
Paraná.
Yeah, and then here.
Good.
Yeah.
And what was your experience in Brazil in general?
I think our experience was really, definitely in the beginning, like, was kind of like based on how different it was from Morocco, because we came from there, so you're kind of like, it would be different if we would have gone to Brazil immediately. Like we were comparing, at least I was really comparing because it was so different, but really good. Like the culture is so warm and so like hospitable. Like all the people we stayed with, like we stayed with a church, we stayed at another vibrant base actually, and everybody is so welcoming. We love that whole culture, and I really love the nature. Here in the south, the mountains, and
the food.
Yeah, I was
gonna ask you that.
Amazing. Everything.
Acai, so good.
Yeah, it's been such a cool experience.
Cool. And what about your personal experience with God? What you learn in Jocum, you get even closer to God, or you approach them from far away? How you were this time, the 3 months specifically?
Specifically.
I think for me, I came to you, Jocum, knowing Jesus, knowing God, but it became a lot more intimate in those 3 months. We learnt so incredibly much about who God is, who God is and what He's done. But we went pretty deep, which is so cool. But for me, I think 1 week was focused on identity, and something the preacher said was the more you learn about God, the more you also learn about yourself. And that is so true. Like the more you look at your Creator, you see more about who you are as the creation, which really stuck out to me. But also I think I became a lot more confident in who I am as God's child and my own salvation, that is all God and there's nothing I can do about it. And yeah, that's my quick recap.
Cool.
Yeah.
And did you have an experience?
Yeah, the coolest thing I think about Jocum is also that it's so it's so like practical, but also like what do you say, like not academic, but like we also learn a lot, and it's really like on a good balance. Also during lecture phase, like I learned so much more about the Bible and how to interpret it, but went along with so much more intimacy, and like because I understood more about the Bible, I understood way more about like how God goes to me and how He talks to me, and even the things that I like brought from lecture phase that I was still struggling with so much. Like now in our last weeks of outreach, I see how He slowly has changed that, like without me even noticing, and then I realized how to see like how He personally speaks to me and how like different that is from maybe other people, and how I've like learned to cherish like my personal relationship with God.
I see. Cool.
Yeah. So I've been in Jocum a little bit longer. I've been almost 2 years soon, but it's God has been teaching so much to me, like during these 2 weeks, 2 years, like so many different processes and so many things that He's teaching me, and really like deepening my foundation in Him and in the Word, and about just like learning about missions work and all these things, amazing experiences. I think the latest thing that I've really like gone through is like learning how, like, why do we actually do missions or anything that we do in life? It's all to glorify God and glorify His name, and that's something I've really like only grasped, I think, like this past year, that everything that we do should be to glorify God.
Very cool, very cool. Want to talk about your home country church? How are there? How their works? It's too much different from here. The costumes.
It's very different for me. Like Brazilians in general, so also the church, are so expressive and just in all the ways, like preaching, the worship, they're so expressive and excited. I wouldn't like. There's also churches or like conferences in the Netherlands that would have it like more like this, like more open. But I think here it's way more normal, and definitely in comparison with my church, it's like so the opposite.
Yeah, I see. And you, not seeing the great difference.
I think the Australian church has a lot to learn from Brazil, honestly. I've seen how mission focused lots of the churches here are. Like, they're so good at going out there and evangelizing and going out there helping in the community. Like during this flood, so many churches have responded by building shelves, donating items, and I think that's something that our churches are definitely lacking. And I think if you also look at Acts, I've noticed that that's something that lots of churches here are really like modeling the Church of Acts. And I think, Australia needs a bit of a wake-up call in that area. But that's good. I'll bring it back with me.
Yeah, I agree with Elke and Venske. I think our church has a lot to learn from the hospitality that the church in Brazil carries, and also how missions focused they are. But I think in my country, Finland, like I think it's becoming more missions focused, and young people are going out on the streets to evangelize. And
good.
I know teenagers who preach the gospel in high schools, and like I think God is really moving in Finland, and especially what I've seen in the last 2 years.
Very good, very good. In your church, you do some work. You're singing, you're helping some part of this. Just please.
I did like kids ministry or like the kids services for quite a long time. That's it. And sometimes we have like an event or something where I would help. But
good.
Yeah, I also did kids ministry. Love those kids. And we had, for some older kids, we had kids club every Friday, which is a bit like youth group, but for kids who are a bit younger. Yeah, like a transition into it. That's what I did.
And you?
Yeah, I haven't really been in my church in 2 years. I'm living in Norway now, but I also did a little bit kids ministry, and just helping out wherever.
Very good, very good. And our missions needs to be out for so long, and that's very good. Some other talks I want to talk. This is your last country you visit before I come back, and then the Jocum. Maybe you can go back to travel with Jocum, or you need to waste some time, or what you pretend to do after come back. I think it's a better question.
That is a very good question. Still figuring that out a bit. I'm on a gap year from Australia, so I'll spend the rest of my year in Europe. And I am either prayerfully considering I'll either do another school with Joachim, a Bible BCC, a Bible core course, where you focus more on the Bible and you learn also how to study it. Or I'll work the summer and then backpack Europe before I start uni in February.
Ah, cool.
Okay, for me, I've also been thinking about it a lot. I have two options. I either go back to the Netherlands to study. Like, that was my original plan, like having a gap year now after high school and then going to study. But there's also a chance that I want to stay in Jocum for a bit. So then there's the opportunity to staff. I would like do a commit for 2 years, and then you staff on the base. You probably like lead a school. For example, next year nothing is set, but you can like lead a DTS. Or other schools. Yeah, and I would also do a BCC first, like before I staff.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, I'll stay in Jocum for 1 more year in Norway, and after that it's in God's hands.
He knows what he does.
Yeah.
Good. And what was your life before becoming Christians? You were born in a Christian family. You were then born in the church. What's your experience with that? When you converted, when you accepted Jesus?
So I was fortunate enough to be born in a Christian family with Christian parents, and that's very much been a blessing. And I also think because of that, I like to describe my journey to God not as there was one moment where I was like, I accept Jesus, but it's more been like a staircase where I've gotten to know him more and more. And some things along the way that really, I think grounded my faith is when I was 7 or 8. I was struggling a lot. Like, is there, like, the tooth fairy isn't real, so why would God be real? So I remember very specifically, my mum was like, hey, we can pray about this. So one night we prayed, and then that night I got a dream from God that 2 angels came down and they took me up to heaven, where I saw Jesus, saw the city, which is so cool. And I think that has really been the start of my staircase journey.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah, I was also born in a Christian home, but we didn't really go to church with my family. So my parents would teach me about God and speak about Jesus, but I didn't have community, or I didn't really. I always knew Jesus, but I didn't really have that consistent place to go to learn about God, except my parents. But I remember when I was in kindergarten, like if I was alone and I didn't have any friends around me, like I was just imagining like Jesus walking beside me. So ever since I was a child, like I always really
very
believed in
cool.
Jesus. And then I was 14, I found more Christian friends, and I started to go to church more, and I really started to build more more personal relationship with God. And it's been a journey with that, but I always knew God and had Jesus in my life, but I made it more personal when I was a teenager.
But your parents don't go to a church because they don't find anyone that fits, or I heard some case that people that for some corrupt ones ended up being preferred not going to a church because they think that something can it's a little difficult to express because they don't think that this place is good for what God's purpose.
It's not one of those reasons, but it's a little complex to explain. But my mom has asthma, so she's like very allergic to if it's old building or if the building has mold. And then a lot of churches we still belong to the state church in Finland, and a lot of them are really old churches and buildings. So she couldn't really go to any of them. So then I'm not sure about all the reasons, but my parents, we didn't really go so much to church because my mom couldn't go. So then my dad didn't want to also go alone with us
Yeah, I
without
see.
my mom. But I think like now my parents go to church, they have found a community there, so invite like, people to our home and have like home church. But I think like it's mostly the reason that my mom had asthma, but I think they always knew God, but it wasn't so personal for them, and God wasn't so like they didn't realize how like active and close He is. And I think the last few years, like God has really been changing my parents' hearts and moving in their lives, and they're so on fire for Jesus now, and they have community to go to and churches to go to, and yeah, I think it was the sickness that my mom had, but also I think God has been working a lot in their lives.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I also grew up in a Christian family, and I always knew Jesus. Like my dad's a pastor, so we went to church every week, and you know, like we went to the kids services, youth group, like all the things. But I think similar to Renske, like once I got older, relationship with Jesus just got more personal. Like I remember, I think I was probably like 12, 13, 14 when I realized more that it's not necessarily normal to believe in God. Like friends around me didn't, and like there are always friends that didn't, but I realized more that it's such a like how much different it is from like how they live in a way. And I like, for example, my sister was a really big example in like we went to a conference, and all of a sudden she was so excited and so on fire for Jesus, and I'd never seen anything like that, because I never really realized how that like it would make such a big difference to like for me personal to read the Bible and think about Jesus. So I remember ever since I saw that more around me, I like tried to search, and I went to concerts that she went to, and like I started to deepen my relationship.
I see. Very good. And how do you knew Jan? Assim que se fala. INWN? Jocum em jogo em inglês.
Okay, so for my gap year, I was just searching for anything. Like I knew I wanted to travel. I had so many ideas, like voluntary work. But bit by bit, I realized, okay, I want something, like, I don't want to just travel, like, with no purpose. I want to do something more. And I knew I wanted to do something to develop myself as well, like, mostly, like, my relationship with God. So DTS was just, like, after looking, it was just, like, the perfect combination. And it was kind of, like, when I was looking, I looked into a lot, and it was new. But it's not, like, I knew YWAM before. Like, I grew up like hearing about it because it's not super big in the Netherlands, but I've heard it before. I know my dad like knows people in there because he's a pastor, so it's not like all new.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it was really funny. I like for maybe 2 years, I had a feeling that after high school, when I graduate, like I will do the DTS, but I didn't know how I know about it or where I heard it for the first time. Maybe a friend told me, or maybe I just heard somewhere, but I have no idea how I heard.
That's great.
Yeah, no, I just had a feeling that I should do it, and I knew like I want to do something missions related, but I just have a feeling that I'm gonna do it, and then I did. Yeah. But I'm not sure how I heard about it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And in Finland it's very small. I didn't know anyone who had gone there before. But that summer, like before DTS, like God really put people on my but on my life that had been to YWAM. So suddenly, like that summer before, I met so many people who had been to YWAM. He was really like preparing me for the DTS.
Are there any YWAM bases in Finland?
Yeah, there's like maybe 5. They're very small.
That's for like such a small country. It's kind of
and
says you're from the Netherlands.
Yeah, but we only have 2 bases because we're so small.
It's a small basis, but the Send. The big event Send is coming to Finland next year, so I believe that YWAM in Finland will probably also grow with that.
Yeah, I am very similar to Elke. Was deciding to go on a gap year, and I really wanted to do something that also glorified God, because I have the time now. Don't know when I have the time in the future. And then one of my mum's friends was, I think, a school leader at one of the bases in Australia, and she told me, you should really look into doing a DTS. So I Googled it and then decided to go for it. But yeah.
Good. Interesting. And how we enter in contact? You call them and ask about this. How is this part? How do you enter in Jocum?
So you can basically just apply online. Like anyone can do it. It's focused on youth, like what it says, like Jocum, so for youth. But there's no like, I don't know, age that you can't go anymore or something. And there's not really requirements. You have to like fill in some forms, and like of course they want you to like, or you don't have to be Christian, but at least like really wanting to, or in a way like you have to want to know God more, and like
you have the disposition to make it.
In a way, like you can still be doubting, of course, but like you really want to do this work, and then you just you fill in a form, and there's some like references that you can make.
Interesting.
Like, almost anyone can enter.
It's super easy. Yeah. Just fill in a form online or get in touch with them. Yeah.
To be honest, after seeing your group, I want to do Jocum too.
You should.
Yeah.
I 100%
There's some really
recommend.
nice places in Brazil or outside.
Maybe after I finish the college, I try. And what about testimony? Any bigger thing God do with your lives? Any great cure that you see while in missions, while you're traveling?
I can
So
share.
many
So
testimonies.
We can talk about this for a
I
while.
love sharing testimonies.
Go on.
Okay, this has been a testimony that we shared a lot because it happened in Morocco, but it's so cool. So, I'll set the scene. One of our other friends and I were doing evangelism in Marrakesh in Morocco, and we were both. We've been doing evangelism for a couple of weeks now. You get a bit tired, so we were praying, God, can you send someone to us? Because it takes a lot of boldness to step out, and we're both not feeling it. So we prayed that, and then about 10 minutes later, someone offered us weed. But we took that as an invitation of, hey, talk to me. Yeah, so we started a conversation, and just talked about random stuff. Then we somehow ended up talking about prayer. He mentioned everyone in Morocco is pretty much a Muslim. So talking about that, and he was saying how, he's a Muslim, but he doesn't like praying. And the conversation moved on. And then we noticed that he couldn't move his arm properly. Like he had to use his left hand to move his right arm. Something was wrong. And he was in the city that day to visit a doctor because he lived pretty rural in the mountainside. We talked to him about that for a while we worked up the courage to ask if we could pray for him. And then eventually we did. We asked, hey, can we pray for you? And obviously we had to ask in Jesus' name because they don't necessarily believe in Jesus. But he said yes, which doesn't always happen. So we got to pray for him. And then as we prayed, we opened our eyes and he had this massive smile on his face, which is so cool. And then after we prayed, he could move his arm, which is, before he couldn't do that. And then, Jesus healed him, which is awesome. And then we got talking a bit more and he was like, maybe I should pray in Jesus' name. And we were like, yes, you should. Because his name is power. And wrapped up the conversation, and then my friend and I, we left, and we were like, whoa, what just happened? What did we just see? So we thanked God, but we also prayed, God, help us in our unbelief. And then we got up from the bench we were sitting at, walked a couple of 100 meters, and then we ran into that guy again. And this time he waved to us with the arm he couldn't move about half an hour ago.
So cool.
And we're like, wow, God, you are really a powerful God who answers prayer.
Fair enough. I will just gonna ask, do you have any problems in Morocco while you're traveling? If I understand right.
Problems with the travels?
No, with the Morocco's culture that can't preach in public, you know.
Well, as I said, we had to be careful. In the end, we didn't really have problems actually. Like maybe like people who were just hesitant to hear and like firm in their own faith. Like, oh, I don't want to hear about Jesus. I believe in Allah, and in like I don't believe in Jesus. Muhammad is my prophet. Stuff like that, but never like that it's caused trouble or that they, I don't know, were like, oh, you're preaching the gospel and you can't do that or something. Like
Safety wise, I think we were okay.
Good.
In that aspect.
And I think we also were careful with, we were missionaries, so in fact it's illegal, but we weren't like preaching the gospel out loud. We were really trying to go to people, actually listen to them, build relationships, and out of that way like share about the truth, and like we're like wanting to learn more about their faith as well, and then sharing about ours, and not in a way like forcing it or whatever. And it came to really feel beautiful conversations, I think.
Very good.
Yeah, you can't go up to people and be like, hey, do you know Jesus?
Hey, can I pray for you?
Yeah. But you can, like, you get to know them, and then you're like, oh, like, ask about their faith, and then you can also share, like, one-on-one conversations. It becomes more of a problem if it's we attract bigger crowd, or we can't do signs on the street or anything like this. It has to be, like, one-on-one or groups. And also, it's not dangerous for us. Like, the worst thing that they do is they maybe put you to jail, and then they kick you out of the country. So in Morocco, it's not dangerous, like life-threatening to preach the gospel. But, yeah, of course, we don't want to get kicked out. But, like, as a short-term team, we can be more free.
A bit more bold.
And then the long-term missionaries there, like, they need to be more careful.
Really careful,
so that they don't get kicked out of their homes. And also we had like some words, like we couldn't say evangelism, we couldn't say missionary or Bible. So
Bible.
We said a Bible. So we would say M worker for missionary and
Y
EV
for
EV for evangelism, Y for Bible. So we couldn't use all the
Entendi.
we can use here.
It should be a little hard one. There.
It took some getting used to.
But it also took some time to get used to saying those words again. Like when we came to Brazil, the word missionary, it felt almost like
illegal.
Like, how do you say this word now?
Like we're going to do some EV, and like once like the people would look at us like, what do you mean? You know, like
I see. And about testimonies, do you have some to share?
Enough, I'm thinking about I think it was our first week in Morocco. So we were still really getting used to everything and trying to figure out the culture. How do you approach people in a way that it works? How do we get over this language barrier? And whatever. So I think it was our first night of evangelism in the mall, and I was with Jenny and one of our other friends. And it was, I don't think we were discouraged yet, but it was kind of like, oh, how do we do this? No one speaks English. I was trying to like translate French, and it was kind of like rocky. And then we came to this store. We stopped because we saw some like beautiful Moroccan dresses, and we got talking to the store owner, a really sweet old woman in like her 50s. We talked a bit. I don't even know about what, like nothing
Just
special.
life.
And like randomly, someone like asked like, "Can we pray for you?" And she starts tearing up. Because Moroccans in general, they really like prayer. So usually it's not usually you can ask. But she was also like, she was just stirred up by like that we like talked with her, and she was going through a rough time. Like she had like I think her father passed away like some years ago on the like same time of the year, and it was Ramadan actually, so the time of their fasting. There were some troubles in family, so it really touched her heart. And we tried to explain. I have no idea if she understood everything. Like we also asked like, can we pray in Jesus' name? And she was like, yeah, it's fine. I don't know. She realized like what it actually meant, but we did it. And she became so, like as we said, Morocco is so hospitable. So she was so touched, and she invited us to go with her like another day. She wanted to show us the market because she saw we were so lost. We were like just lost tourists. We knew nothing. So she wanted to show us the spice market and all these things. So another day, we just went with her. We spent the whole day with her, and she really blessed us with like, she really felt like a mom, you know, almost. And that's, and I think seeing her, she she was really also, like, it felt like we did nothing, we just went with her, but I think it was really what she needed, and she felt so blessed. And then at night we were invited to eat with her. And so it's their fasting month, so it was like time to break the fast for them. Like we were just eating with them, but for them it was like a special moment of breaking the fast.
See.
And we were there, and her niece and cousin, I think, were there. And they spoke English, so finally it was easier to talk. But we ended up actually just talking to them the whole night. Like, we weren't even talking to the woman anymore. But it was this moment when I realized, like, wow, God really uses creative ways to lead us to persons. Because in the end, I felt like, I think this is where we were supposed to be. Because we ended up having a really good and serious talk about faith. And they shared about their faith, and we shared about ours. And I think we got to, like, really share the gospel. And she, like, it looked like she, the niece really understood more about, like, what Christianity actually was, and, like, she finally grasped it more. And it wasn't like this big conversion, like she was a Christian now, you know, but she really wanted to think more about it and read the Bible, and she finally said she understood Christians more. So I think this whole experience is such a testimony about how God leads us to persons in a way you really don't think. Like the woman, Mugna, she really needed some people just to be with and to talk to and to comfort her and just to, like, bless her. And her niece and cousin, I think, really needed the spiritual conversation and, like, being filled up in that way. So.
Yeah, I see. Sometimes just a little act just make everything a difference.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll share about Brazil, since you both shared about Morocco. God has been doing so many things, and, like, it's amazing. I feel like every day we can, like, walk in His like Holy Spirit is really leading us every day, and it's so easy to see God's handprint in each of the days on this trip. I think in my testimony I was also sharing about this yesterday, but I think it's about how, like, I feel like God has really led us to all the places that we have gone to, and there has been purpose in each place that we have gone to, or, like, it's easy to see why we went there. And one was in Curitiba. We were doing evangelism. I was with one of our other friend, Celia, and we went into a house, and the woman met some other people like before, and she invited them like to her house, and then these people said, "Oh, you can come with us." So me and Celia went to her home, and she was really touched, and we got to pray for her, and the pastor was sharing with her about, like, from the Bible. But what really stood out to me was when she said that, Jesus told her that people from far away would come to her home. And then me and Celia went there, and we were from Norway and Finland. And she was she was really encouraged by it, but I was also encouraged by it, because God really spoke to her about it, and then really led us to her home, and then we got to go there. And the same in Tres Coroas, where we stay now. We before we came to Brazil and Morocco, we were praying for a trip and praying for words, and if God has anything in mind, and just asking God what He has in mind for our time here. And one of us got a picture of, like, these hands coming out of mud and wanting to be saved.
And like we were, like, I think pulling out, like, the hands, we were, like, getting them.
And the picture, it was specifically for Brazil, our time in Brazil, and it didn't really make so much sense before.
We were laughing about it.
We were like, okay.
But then the floods happened here, and there's so much so much mud everywhere, and it really made sense. Like, like God was already telling us before we even came and before the floods happened, and I think it's amazing to see how God is really leading us to places and also speaking to us during this trip. But it's not only now; it's also, like, He does it everywhere, and we can keep on, like, walking in the guidance of Holy Spirit after this trip too.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. Every day. Yeah.
And how is going the things in Tres Coroas? Como é que está indo lá? The rest of the people of your group still there, right?
Tres Caras.
The rest.
Yeah, so we're a team of 8, and they're
Yes.
also still, they're just at our, like the place we stay.
Ah, okay. When your travel with Jocum ends, when you come back to your countries?
Oh, when? So this is our last week, so next week we'll fly to back to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have 2 weeks to like finish the school kind of with everyone. So we have 5 teams all over the world right now, and then we'll be back with like our whole class from the beginning, and then we have 2 weeks there, and then in mid-June we finish.
Yeah.
Cool. And right at the end, so
Sorry?
Yeah,
Right
it's
in the
almost
end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yes, it's really
So
Yeah.
sad.
it's really
Yeah.
sad.
It goes by so fast.
So
I-
fast.
I blinked and we're nearly at the end.
Yeah.
let's see. Let me think some more questions. What tower is it? What tower? Time.
Time?
Oh,
Yeah.
the time. 5:07.
5:07. Oh, we only have 1 hour left. So, do you like any musicians, singers, gospel singers? What do you like, or any of them? What kind of music?
Yeah, I think like the last maybe year or two, I've really only listened to worship music. But I love MBL worship. I don't know if you know them. It's kind of a small band, but they're becoming bigger. They're American, and I really like their songs. Really good worship songs.
I recommend Citizens. One of my favorite bands. They're just so good. The music is good and it glorifies God. That's the best combo.
Mhm.
Yeah. Both of those are also like one of my favorites. And then there's Rent Collective.
Oh yeah.
It's an Irish band. Jesus Culture. Also good one.
Yeah.
I see.
But I must say, I listen to a lot of different like worship. Like, it's not so much the same artist.
But it doesn't matter. The matter is the music.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Do you watch any series, movies? What do you like to watch?
I haven't had any time this year to watch movies or TV shows. Too busy. But let me think.
Like having
I
watched
think
The
on
Chosen.
Outreach, we've talked so much with our team about like, oh, movie night, or we should watch that movie. I think in total we've watched 1
2.
movie. The
Yeah.
whole Outreach, or 2.
We watched The Cars.
The Greatest Showman.
And The Greatest Showman.
That's
The
I
Greatest
sang
Showman.
along
Whole
to
Outreach.
that.
Yeah,
I need to watch
Sure.
that one.
classics. The next one we watch is Tangled.
Tangled.
Tango. Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the boys in our team have not seen Tangled,
They need
so
to.
we're
I also
Ah.
don't remember so much.
Yeah.
Comforting.
You like Disney?
Well,
Mm.
it looks like
Interesting.
it, but
Yeah,
actually not that much. But these movies are good.
this moves are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like movies, but I haven't watched so much like on my own ever since being in Jocum. Like sometimes we have movie nights, but I don't really have like Netflix account or anything,
Mhm.
so I don't watch so much on my own.
Mm. Have you?
Yeah, I think for me it's also more like when at home, it's also just like family nights that we watched movies, or like sometimes we watch at base with like more people, but I never watch so much alone.
Mm-hmm. See. Do you have any questions? I'll try to answer the best way.
Questions. Okay, I have a question. We talked a little bit, like on the way here, like about the spiritual atmosphere in Gramado and how people are and things like this. But how have you experienced it? Like, how is it with the people in this town, or is it mostly Christians, or is there? Yeah, how is it with the spiritual?
today I work in the hospital. There are very Christians, some Catholic, some evangelic. We have missa, the Catholic cult and the hospital, something. And most of the people there are Christians. Most people I know in Gramado are Christians. Normally, the kids, around 12 to 14 years aren't so much. Some fathers don't require so much. Even being Christians are more like on their own. Don't come too much to church. Don't come much. We was trying to get these people to come. It's basically this. It's a very Christian city. We have a lot of churches. We have the Centro, two in the center. Have here, have a lot of people are. Basically, in Gramado is this. In your countries, in our cities, the same things happens. Is a little more colder, more hotter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so just for records, we last Saturday, I think it was, we visited this church.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent the whole day here, we just got to know the people, and we went out for some kind of evangelism in the afternoon. We did some songs on the street, and we're supposed to do a skit. We didn't end up doing it, but that was the plan. And we went to some houses, and then at night there was a church service, a youth meeting. Is that something this church does regularly?
Every week. Every week.
The evangelism also,
Wow. No, the evangelism isn't so often, because some have their own work, some have a compromise that may end up impacting. But when we can, we do.
Wow. Okay.
We ask someone to show up. We go to the center. We go to the parks to call people.
Yeah. Which is a very cool initiative. We really enjoy being part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you plan to come to visit us someday?
Back to visit, I would love to.
I will come back to Brazil.
I will,
for sure.
I really want to go back. Yeah.
Very good. Let me think. Any other questions? What you're most liked about the food in Brazil?
We love food.
Big conversation in our team.
What I think about the food, amazing. I love acai. Love it. Also in general, the food's just been really good. That being said, a bit controversial, but I don't know whether I'll have rice and beans again after
rice and beans.
Brazil.
That's one of my favorite things from Brazil, guys. I love rice and beans with every meal. I enjoy it so much.
I think I've reached my rice and beans limit.
It's a very common food here, for lunch and dinner.
We had this. It's called Esfira.
Esfira.
Pizza in Curitiba. It was so good.
It was our favorite, and the pizzeria we went to, it was not just small pizza, but they had so many flavors, and they had sweet ones with banana and chocolate, and it was so good.
I don't know if it's really Brazilian, but it was really good.
I think the people there said it was,
yeah.
But then we found it nowhere else.
And the little chocolate bowls?
Brigadeiro. Brigadeiro.
Oh, so good. And we have also had Brazilian hot dogs.
Yeah.
Those were,
that was
I
here.
don't know, that was here. That was also really good.
Yeah.
No, so I don't know if you experiment or eat in other parts of Brazil. Hot dog with smashed potatoes.
Ooh, I haven't tried.
Here in the south, it's not so common. In São Paulo or in Rio de Janeiro, it's pretty common they put this.
We've heard people talk about it a lot, and that we had to try it, but we haven't had the chance.
I am not the biggest fan. People say it's good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think most people have been recommending it.
Sounds like an interesting mix. What's your favorite food in Brazil?
My favorite food, pizza.
Mm.
I like very much. French fries. Not something very healthy, but
Very Brazilian.
yeah. Fortunately, doesn't have a Italian together with us, or I think they won't like so much of our pizza.
I think your pizza is so good.
Me too.
I've been to Italy and I've been to Brazil, and I think Brazilian pizza is really good.
Ooh.
We heard a lot, but I think each one has their own charm.
True.
That's
True.
true.
And what about? Sorry, because this is the first time I end a presentation, a podcast. So I normally come in the cameras, but it's first, so we start to think of the question in time. If you want to talk about any topic of your one, go there. Just conversation. You have conversation.
Do you guys have anything?
So.
You said it.
Do you guys have anything to talk about?
You're both looking at me. Jesus. Amen. We could keep sharing testimonies.
I was about to say the same.
Yeah.
Rianske, you have the best testimonies.
Do I?
Like how the way you share them, or
Oh.
like how you love sharing them.
I
Yeah.
do love sharing testimonies. Pick a genre and I'll see my testimonies. There's a lot of testimonies that are jumping in my mind.
Yeah.
Lecture phrase.
What did you have?
Do you have something that would
Testimony about exorcisms.
about?
Exorcisms. About demonic people that get cured.
Oh,
Do you have some?
more healings.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the big one. But you have a really cool one about healing.
Like
Yourself.
from this? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've also seen. Yeah. Yeah, I can share from my own life. It's hard to explain it in English, but I'll try my best. But I shared about like my mom. She had asthma. I actually had something really similar to her, and I think I don't know if it's possible, but I think it has something to do with her being pregnant with me when she when the sickness got really bad. But I don't know if it's possible, but this is my guess. But yeah, I had something similar. So I would also, like, in a lot of buildings, I would get sick. I would get headache immediately. I would get, my throat would hurt and lungs would hurt, and would get fever if I went inside these buildings, like old buildings or buildings with mold. And my school was pretty bad when I was younger. I think it started when I was in the 3rd grade, because that's when we switched schools. And they had some problems with the air inside there. So I would be sick a lot growing up, and I would be in school maybe 2 weeks, and then be sick at home for 1 week, and then go back to school and then sick again. And it was really hard. I think I got used to it too, and I think I kind of got used to the lifestyle of living like that. But it wasn't. I wanted to play football and I wanted to do all these fun things, and I was sick a lot. But I God also turned it into a good, and through this sickness, that's how I really found Jesus personally. I switched schools at some point in middle school because it got so bad. I was sick so much, and I tried another school if it would be better, and it was a Christian school. So through this school, I really found friends who loved Jesus, and I got to know Jesus better, and that's how I started my more personal walk with God, and where my child faith turned into more wow, God is so real and moving today, and I understood God more. But so it was cool to see how that sickness, it wasn't good, but God turned it into a good, and I didn't understand why I have the sickness, but God had higher plans, and that through the sickness I actually got to know Jesus better. But then also in Norway, at Descent in Norway, it was 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, almost 2 years ago, Descent in Norway. And the preacher in the States asked if there's any sicknesses and if people want healing. And he was like saying a lot of different things, like giving a list of things, like if you have this, like raise up your hand. And he said that if you have like some problems with your lungs, raise up your hand. And so I did. And people gathered around me. At the same time they prayed for many people, and some people gathered around me and prayed for me. And after that, I didn't feel like any different. I felt normal. And one guy, he asked me if, how do you feel? Like, are you healed? Like, what's going on in your mind? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I would have to go somewhere to test it if I got healed. Like to a building where I would get sick. And he told me that have faith. And then I kept on living my life, but it stuck out to me, like the phrase that he said, like have faith. And after that, after the Ascend in Norway, I went to a lot of places. I went to my grandparents' place, I went to my old school, I went to this Bible school that I sometimes went to in summers for summer camps. And all these places were places where I would get headache like in 10 minutes when I was inside of there. Like if I went there, I would know that okay, I will have fever tonight. But I went to all of these places and I didn't get anything. So I believe that God healed me. It was 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and I haven't been sick from buildings ever since. So I believe that Jesus healed me.
Oh, very good.
So good.
There's something that I want to ask you. How do you talk to a person? Since you are traveling, you talk to very different persons with very different life experience. How do you talk to a person that lost all her faith? So, I have some friend from São Paulo that her mother gets a natural abortion, known as an abortion, and that point make her don't believe in God anymore. Their parents still go to the cults, but she doesn't believe because her mother feels so bad that how God could let my mother feel that. How do you talk to approach people like that?
I think it's so difficult, and honestly, I haven't had so many experiences, at least on outreach. Like we haven't had so many experiences with that, because in Morocco, it wasn't that people like believed first or something, or like lost their faith because they're all Muslims. In Brazil, I haven't really encountered people, but I think definitely if it's something like this, and if it's about suffering, like why would God let people suffer? There's so much to say, but like I would say, always point back to Jesus and Jesus suffering on the cross, and like how like after suffering comes freedom. Like there's so much to say, but like even if it's not in this life, like the Bible, such a story of hope that like after suffering, he conquered that, and he. Even though it's so hard for us to believe, he's not always a healer, or he doesn't always make things better, but he's always with us in our pain. And that's like a way bigger comfort. And like if you actually experience that, it's like everything you need.
Yeah, I see. I think the main problem is how I try to convince the people to try it, because God won't make any difference in your life if you don't want. God respects you, and for people that don't want, for me difficult is convince her to even try to want. This is the thing that most complicate me when trying to talk to God to other people. That in this particularly the people that are very hurt to at least they try.
Yeah.
I think the biggest part of it is prayer. I think really bringing the person to God and praying for them regularly. I can't say that word. But yeah, like bringing the person before God like often and keep on praying for them. And I also have friends in my life and even my brother who don't believe in God or walked away from God. And yeah, it's really hard. It's hard to know how to like share about Jesus with them, or like you just want them to have what you have, but they don't really understand it or want it. But I think, yeah, just keep on trusting God and His faithfulness and keep on praying for the people. And it's not us trying to convince them about the faith or about Jesus, but it's God doing the work, and we can just trust in God and His timing and yeah, just love the people and share our experiences, but not try to force them or try to convince them.
I think, what was I about to say? What were we talking about? I don't know. I had something I wanted to say. Exactly. Yeah, that it's really hard when people don't even they don't feel like they miss something, or they don't feel like they need it. So why would they? You know, like that's I think the hardest. But like honestly, the answer is easy and difficult at the same time. Like God can change hearts. Like prayer is the most powerful thing, and like He can just you continue prayer. He can just change a heart of someone into like feeling empty in a way, or like knowing that they need or want more. And I think in those situations, like for example, when like with the mother who's suffering so much, in a way it can be like a door to like they must feel like they need something to make it better, because the situation is so bad. Like they know they need something, you know, and in that way it can be sometimes easier to share Jesus, because like what other, like if you can show them like there's no other thing that's actually like consistent, faithful, loving, yeah, if they like know they need something.
I see.
Or sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think what helps me is like trying to also listen to the people and like understand like, okay, like, or ask them questions like, if you don't believe in God, like what purpose do you have in life, or what fulfills you, or how do you find meaning? Like really asking those questions and then hearing what they say and trying to meet them where they are at. And I think if you don't believe in God, or if you don't follow Jesus, your life is so empty. And there is a lot of depression, and there's a lot of alcohol and drugs and things. People try to feel something that they don't have. So I think just having those conversations also with them and trying to understand them, and then offering Jesus, or like showing that Jesus is the answer and the thing that they're looking for and longing for, and the thing that they can't find anywhere else.
I can share testimony. I can
Go
share
on.
testimonies all day. I love it. So, a bit what we were saying earlier about how can you show. No, what we're talking about. We're talking about how also to share Jesus to people who don't believe. I've walked away, and I think there's a lot of power in also. The Bible says that we are the light and we are the salt of this world. And I think, the Holy Spirit lives in us and He bears fruit. And that in itself is also a testimony and is also evident to people, because we're not of this world. And that's pretty clear, I think, at times, even though we do all struggle with sin. And a testimony of that is we were hiking into a remote village in, again, Morocco. And we were staying with this family who had often received Christian teams and had heard the gospel but weren't yet Christians.
They were Muslims, and they kind of like were used to people coming. Also,
for 15 years.
For 15
I think
years.
they were also like they knew we were Christians, but also just like nice visitors, but every time like they poured into them.
Yeah, and we didn't even necessarily share the gospel with them. We were just, ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed the fellowship with them. And then we prayed for them before we left, and he said something along the lines of, I feel a really deep sense of love and peace in my heart, and that's something that he hasn't shared with our guide who came with us before, for like 15 years. And I think there's so much, I think God also really shows himself through people. And I think that, what we were saying earlier, I think that also really, shows, you can also show who God is through just letting his light shine through you.
See.
And I think that really happened with that man. He's not a Christian yet, but a step closer. He will be. I have faith. And
talking about this, Jocum, they made the teens once in a year, twice in a year, like how this part works. The first semester of the year is one group, the first 3 months, and then in the second there's another.
I think it depends on the base.
Depends on the base.
At the base that we're at, we have fall and a spring DTS.
Okay.
It's all year round. It just depends on the base when they start.
Entendi.
Yeah.
I think with your story, I think it's so interesting with how God moves and works, because some people need so different things, and only God knows what they need. And some people, they only they really need the truth, and they need to hear the gospel and hear about Jesus to accept him. And then some people need just to see the love through you, God's love through you. And some people, we heard testimonies of Muslims in Morocco who got a dream directly from God and gave their lives to Jesus. So it's really interesting how there's so many ways how God moves, and it's really not about us, but it's about us just being open and willing to do what he's telling us to do.
And we've really seen God pursuing people on this outreach. I think here in Brazil, before evangelism, a group of people prayed. We prayed, and they received a picture of, I think it was a guy in a blue shirt with, I don't remember his name, but they also got a name.
Eu acho o Manuel Gomes, o Caneta Azul.
I don't know.
No.
I don't remember.
It's a meme or is a serious image?
No, it's a real man, a
real person. They got a picture from God, and his name, and then they went out during evangelism, and they actually found this guy, and this guy, it wasn't my group that found him, but they shared afterwards, and they found this guy, and this guy felt really encouraged to read the Bible afterwards, and it's whoa, God sent us on the path to this guy, and here we are. But even in Morocco, we also saw God pursuing people. We had a good relationship with this one girl who had a dream about the cross, but wasn't really sure what it meant. And then she meets us, and she hasn't met any Christians before. And then I think we totally changed her worldview on Christianity, stuff like that, where it's whoa, God is actively chasing after individuals, which is so cool to see. Such a intimate and personal God who knows exactly what people need when they need it, and really goes after the one from the 99.
So true.
I mean, I can share another testimony, more personal, about one of the things I've been going through in my relationship with God during DTS, a really small, I don't know, just a short summary of a huge process. But I think one of the things I really took into DTS is that I really wanted to take the head knowledge I had about God into my heart and really get more intimate with Jesus, and not just reading the Bible, but actually reading it and being able to get stuff revelations out of it, and really when I pray just feeling God and listening to God, hearing God's voice. And those were things, most of the things we we got teaching about, and I was really, really struggling. Like I couldn't get it. I was like I'm just never. I can't be focused on God. Like, how do you like see Him? How do you like be focused on worship? Or like I can sing a song just for fun, but I don't like have this moment with God. And that went on for quite a long time, and I took it with me on outreach. Things changed over, like we learned stuff, but it was still very present. And also in like power time, we have like quiet time in the morning. We call it power time. Like I was so inconsistent, and when I did it, I felt just like it just wasn't like how I wanted it to be, and like I was so like in a way. I always believed that Jesus wanted a personal relationship with me. But I was just like, why don't you let me focus in a way, or why don't you like show yourself? And then way more things happened. But in Sao Paulo, like our first week in Brazil, I got the opportunity to preach. And quite soon I just said yes. Well, normally I think I would be so like, oh my goodness, I have to preach on the stage for like 50 minutes in a random Brazilian church. Like, what is this? But I just said yes, and I was like, oh, it's fine. And of course I took time and I prayed for it. But I gave it to God, but again, like as I had often with prayer, like I didn't feel so much. It didn't really give me so much peace, or like it wasn't that He was speaking to me about like what to preach about. But just over that week, and also actually the end of Morocco already, like I would be so much. Okay, so because also like something that really I think stood in between me and like Jesus was just my thoughts. Like I felt like I just had thoughts, like a drain of thoughts every time, and it just wasn't quiet in my head to like be with Jesus. But over that week I realized how much He is in my train of thoughts, and like how many ideas he gave me, and how suddenly I was able to write this whole story about what to preach about. And I read it again and again, and I realized this is literally like, it was so much about like me from the beginning of DTS till there. Like if I read it back, it was like, this is like God gave me these ideas to give to the church, so now I know kind of how to work with God, and that if I pray He gives me ideas. But also when I read it, it was so much about myself. It was so much God showing me like, this is what I've been doing with you, like you're encouraging this church with this, but this is like exactly how I work in you. And that gave me so much like hope and peace, and like in a way like I'm still waiting, like it's not perfect, but now I kind of know like what I'm waiting for, and I know like how He works in me, and how I can go to Him in like really, I think what I shared earlier, like how like my relationship with God is just so personal and so different from like other people, and that's okay, and that I don't have to follow other examples.
Yeah, and personally are a little more not so excited, and a little more cool, just like them. Another personal experience you want to share? Doesn't need to be in Jocum, but it can be before.
I think also I've learned, one, how important Christian fellowship is. Like, boy, it makes a difference. Two, being persistent in prayer. Like, we've shared lots of testimonies where God answered prayer immediately, but He can also, God's timing isn't our timing. He also takes, what seems long for us isn't necessarily long for God. So, a story out of my life, a testimony of my life, is during high school, I struggled a lot with Christian fellowship. At school, I was the only Christian in a public school. Church, there wasn't really anyone my age. And I think, that was hard. It's hard to not be poured into, or not have people around you your age who also point you towards Jesus. So for, I think about 5 years, my prayer was, God, send me Christian friends. And then all of a sudden, my very last year of high school, it's like God answered that prayer, and boy, He answered that prayer bigly, in a big way. Within like a span of maybe a month or two, suddenly there was a Bible study group at my school, which I didn't know of before. Friends, really good and close Christian friends of ours that lived like a 20-hour drive away, moved to my city. And my church, was going to start a young adults Bible study. So all of a sudden, I had all these different groups of people who I could connect with, and I could connect to God with. And I think through that, I really learnt prayers don't always get answered immediately. But also, God is a good God and knows what you need and when you need it. Like, I think at that time, I really needed fellowship. But that time I didn't have fellowship, I really learnt how faithful God is. Like, even though I didn't have Christians around me, my faith isn't about whether other people are Christians. It's about me and God, and He walked that path with me. Yeah. So that's, God is good.
He really gives the right things in the right season, even though maybe in the season you think you need other things. But then once He gives it, or when He answers those prayers, even if it's very later, then you realize that this was like the only right time.
Yeah. There's two Bible verses that come to my mind about it, but I don't remember them by heart. But
I can try.
Yeah, one of them talks about, or one of them says that as much higher the skies from or above the earth, so much higher are your plans. And then the other one says something about what you were talking about. It says like He's not. Like when it seems like he's slow to answer, He's actually patient with us. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Not off by heart.
Okay, but the Bible talks about this. I wish I knew by heart, but yeah, there's so much in the Bible that we can actually, so much wisdom and really, like, God is so faithful and so patient. And He answers our prayers, but with His timing. And if He doesn't answer, maybe He has something better for us, some higher plans.
Yeah, and He's always working to His good and His glory, which is, it's so cool to look back and then have like a light bulb moment. You're like, oh, I see it now.
And that He wants to use us, like, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
Vamos lá. What time is it? Just for control. 5:45. Do you want anything to talk about? Anything more? Anything do you think our church could be better doing? No, we accept Christian. No problem. The better could do, you do.
No, I think, like, ever since being in Brazil, I've just learned so much from Brazilians and been so encouraged by the Christian Brazilians. And I think the way, like, the churches do evangelism here and focus so much on missions, and also the way they welcome people and are so hospitable and generous, I think it's something I really want to learn and take into my own life too, and implement in my church in Finland or in our communities where we go to. And it's just been amazing to see that.
I agree.
After here, you go to
Austria.
It's a thing from our school. So our school is based in Norway. But before we all go back to Norway, we go to Austria for a week. We don't even know why, just for fun. So we meet up.
Teaching.
It's teaching.
Fun teaching.
You're like, hold on, there's a purpose.
Okay. But like, we don't know why it's in Austria and not in Norway, but I'm really glad. It's fun to see more. And so that's where we meet up with our group again. And then there's 2 more weeks of teaching. So 1 in Austria and then 1 back in Norway. And then we graduate and then we're out into the world.
Goodbye.
And then the real mission trip starts. When you go back to your homes and communities. It's a real test.
Everyone says that to me.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And I also want to, like, encourage the people here, like, we are on a mission trip to Brazil, but really, like, you are the hands and feet of Jesus here, and, like, we don't do anything special. We're young. We don't know how to do it always, but we just pray and trust God, and then just be open and share about Him to people and also love people. And yeah, it's nothing about us, but I think it's something that we're all called to do, like all called to love people around us and also share about our faith with them.
Yeah, we're not experienced missionaries. But we just go for what God called us to, and I think everybody can do that, even here, and whatever you do, be missionaries in Brazil.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, if you don't want to add more and nothing, so I think we can finish. Was a pleasure to receive CVA. Was a very good podcast. Do I have any other message for the people who will watch us?
Oh, do we have a message?
I think what we just said, like, be encouraged. You're the missionaries in Brazil, and we've seen that, like, in the churches, so we know you guys can do it. So just keep on. Keep on doing that work.
Yeah, be bold and have faith.
Yeah. And you're also not alone in your faith. Like,
no,
you're a testimony. Like, God is working all around the world, and we are all in it together. And God is moving and doing something.
See community to work for God together.
Very good. So, it was everything, guys. See you next week. Goodbye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.